deployed our application in Heroku Cloud. Heroku is given by Salesforce company. Heroku is providing the platform to run our application. Now my backend API is running successfully in the Heroku Cloud. In the backend API, we have added Swagger documentation. In the backend API, we have added Swagger documentation. So this is the URL to access Swagger documentation of our backend API. What this Swagger documentation is telling? This is a Swagger documentation telling the information about our API. What are the endpoints available in our API? What are the URL patterns? What is the input? What is the output? All the information we can find out by using this Swagger documentation. Based on this Swagger documentation, can we develop front-end application for this using Angular? Based on this Swagger documentation, can we develop front-end application using Angular now? Can we do that? Yeah. Guys, I have prepared notes for developing front-end application for this one. I have prepared notes for this to develop the front-end application, almost 400 lines available. If you follow these notes, then you can develop your Angular application for our backend. If you follow these notes, then you can develop front-end for this Angular application. First step, here, go through Swagger documentation. This is Backend API documentation. Backend API documentation. First, you need to understand the documentation of the backend API, like what are the endpoints available, what are the URLs available, what data that we need to send, what data we are going to get. All these informations we can find out from that Swagger. Once you understood that backend API, let us create Angular application. Let us create the Angular application. Do you know the command to create the Angular application? ng new app name. ng new app name is the command which is used to create the Angular application. Guys, just I have prepared the notes. I will just follow this document and I will execute these things so that our application will be ready to develop. Our front-end application will be ready, which will communicate with the backend. ng new contact, which is used to create the application. In this application, we need to have the navigations. So we need to add the routing also. It will ask, do you want to select the routing? Note, select routing. Select routing in the application. Select routing because we have to route the requests to multiple components. Select routing because we have to route the request to multiple components in this application. Routing is required. When they ask, do you want routing? Select yes. Would you like to add Angular routing? Yes, guys. Add that routing. CSS I'm selecting. Now, application is creating. When this application got created, I want to have some beautiful UI for my application. So to have the beautiful UI for our application, we need to install Bootstrap and Jquery. Once this project is, whenever you execute this command, it will ask for routing. Select routing, select yes for routing because we have to route the request to multiple components in this application. Once this application is created with the routing, I want to use some beautiful UI for this application. So I'm going to install Bootstrap and Jquery in this application. How to install the Bootstrap? npm install Bootstrap, npm install Jquery. So these are the commands that we will use to install the Bootstrap and Jquery. Then how can I use Bootstrap and Jquery? How my application will understand that I'm going to use Bootstrap in my application? Now there is one file called angular.json file. There is one file called angular.json file. Open this angular.json file available in the project, then configure styles and scripts. So Bootstrap CSS I'm configuring, Bootstrap JS I'm configuring. Now In Angular.json file, we need to configure these styles and we need to configure these scripts. So with this, the application will use Bootstrap. Application will use Bootstrap. Jquery and Bootstrap we are going to use in this application. First we have to install the Bootstrap and Jquery. Once they are installed successfully, we need to configure them in our application, where we need to configure styles and scripts in Angular.json file. Inside the project, Angular.json file will be created. We have to add those two things here. Let's check it here. Still project is creating. Contact app. Contact app. Guys, after the today's class completed, I want you people to follow the same document and complete your front end, which will interact with your backend application. So tomorrow we will start with second mini project development. Packages installed successfully. Now let's navigate inside the project. cd space contact. My project name is a contact. I have navigated inside the project, contact project. Now what is the next step that we need to do? Install Bootstrap and Jquery. How to install the Bootstrap and Jquery? npm install Bootstrap. This is the command to install that Bootstrap in our application. After the Bootstrap is installed, then install Jquery in our application. Bootstrap installation completed successfully. Install Jquery. Once that Bootstrap and Jquery is installed, copy the styles and scripts. Where the styles and scripts we need to configure in Angular.json. See here, inside the project there is a file called Angular.json. Go to that Angular.json file. Then can you see here styles and scripts? Can you see the styles and scripts here? Remove these styles and scripts. Configure our styles and scripts. So what my styles are there? Bootstrap styles are there, and Bootstrap and Jquery JS files are available. With this, we have completed this step also. Now, and if you want some global settings, global styles, what are the Bootstrap that you have taken? Import the Bootstrap CSS in the global styles.css file, and for footer, I'm adding some document, I'm adding some styles. Configure below styles in global styles.css file. Global styles.css file is nothing but it is available inside the src folder. src/styles.css. Configure these styles. Go to styles.css file. You can add the global styles this and also import other styles. I'm importing Bootstrap styles here, and I'm adding other styles also required for my application. I'm importing Bootstrap styles in the global. That means the styles that you write in the styles.css file will be applicable for all the templates available in the application. Every component will have its own template. If you want to apply some common styles, then you need to go for this styles.css file. If you want to go for common styles, go for styles.css. I'm importing Bootstrap styles and I'm adding some styles for my footer of the application. Once it is done, so the environment setup is ready. Project is created. Routing is added for the project. Install the Bootstrap and Jquery. Then I configure below styles and scripts in Angular.json file. So these are the styles and these are the scripts. Then configure global styles. These global styles applicable for all the templates available in the project. These global styles applicable for all the styles available in the project. Then create binding class. Create binding class. Now my API is going to take some input to store the contact. To store the contact, this is the input my API is taking. And when I retrieve the contacts, my API is giving some response. My API is giving some response. Now, to map the data between the API, to map the data between API, backend API and front-end UI, we need a binding class. Create a binding class to map front-end data, front-end application data with the backend API data. Right? We are going to create a binding class to map front-end application data with the backend API data. How to create a class, guys? Ng generate class contact. So this is the command which is used to generate a TypeScript class. Ng generate class contact. I am creating a contact class. I am creating a contact class. Generate class. Now contact.ts file is created. Inside the app, the contact.ts file is created. Now inside this class, we need to write our properties. We need to write our properties. Got it? Now here I'm writing properties. But see here the problem. My properties of the API, I have to map it here. My API is representing contact ID, contact name, and contact email, and contact number. So your binding class variables should match with your API binding response. Whatever the response variables you are getting in the API, same variables you need to write in your binding class. You check it, how you created a binding class in the REST API. Same variables names you need to use in the front-end application also. Then only front-end data can map with back-end data, back-end data can map with front-end data. So these are the variables I have in my backend API. I have created this class. All of you comfortable with these steps as of now? All of you comfortable with these steps as of now? Make sure your backend API binding class and front-end binding class variables are same. Your backend API variables and front-end API variables names should be same. Otherwise, data mapping will not happen. Are you comfortable with this? Why we are creating a binding class? Binding class is used to map the data from front-end to backend. 5 steps completed. Created the Angular project, added the routing, installed Bootstrap and Jquery, configured the Bootstrap styles in the Angular.json, then configured global styles also. Then I created a binding class to bind the data. Then we need to create a service class to write the business logic. Ng generate service contact. Now it is going to create one service class. What is the purpose of the service class, guys? Inside the service class, we are going to write the business logic to access backend REST API using Ajax. What is the purpose of the service classes? Can anyone tell me? What is the purpose of service classes? Guys, can you tell me what is the purpose of service class? To write the reusable business logic. It will contain the business logic. Service class is created. Go to service class. To represent the class as a service, we are using @injectable annotation. @injectable annotation is available. And we need to import some packages here. First of all, let's configure what is our backend URL. What is our backend URL? This is my backend URL, and initialize and inject HTTP client using constructor. Inject HTTP client using constructor. I'm taking HTTP client as a parameter inside the constructor. Let's import some packages. Import some packages. HTTP client package I have imported, and observable package from RxJS, and contact class also I have imported. I configured base URL of my application, and I have injected HTTP client in my application. Why HTTP client is required? HTTP client is used to access backend APIs. So what are the backend APIs available? First one is get all contacts. So this is the method I'm writing in the service, get all contacts, observable of contact array. Now this is the URL, get all contacts /contacts. Now see here, when I access my application with the /contacts, then what is happening? All the contacts are going to come in the JSON. Currently, do I have any contact? No. /contacts is the URL. How I am configuring? This is the base URL of my application, and this is the URL which will give all the contacts. It is binded to get request. This dot HTTP client dot get of contacts, contact array. This method is going to return contact array. Now the same is returning by get all contacts by using observable, okay, by using RxJS. Similarly, we have here one more method which is for create the contact. So now, in order to create the contact, we are passing contact object. That means user will fill up the data in the form. The form data will be stored in the form of contact object. That contact object we are passing as a parameter to post request. This is the method. Create contact. Contact/contact is the URL. It is expecting the data in the JSON. So we are sending post request. This is the URL, and this is the data. And the response we are expecting in the text format. Contact is created or not, that response will come in the text format. That is create contact method. Can you guys see here what is create contact and what is get all contacts? Can you see this methods once? This is my base URL. This is method specific URL /contacts get request to get the data, which is going to give the data in the contact array. /contact, it is a post request method. It is taking the contact object, sending the request with the contact data, getting the text as a response. Can you see create contact, get all contacts methods? How I'm making a backend API call using HTTP client. Can you see the business logic to make the backend API call? Clear for all of you? Now we need two more methods, guys. One is for getting the contact based on the ID, find contact method. I'm passing the ID to the contact as a path parameter. See this URL /contact/ID get request only I'm sending, which is going to return the contact object. Then next one, remove contact. I am going to make a delete request to remove the contact. Now to perform CRUD operations, I have taken methods in the service layer, getting all contacts, creating a contact, retrieving the contact based on the ID, delete the contact based on the ID. So these are four methods I have written in my service layer using HTTP client. I have taken the base URL of the backend API. I have injected HTTP client object here. I have injected HTTP client object here. Then I'm getting all the contacts. I'm creating a contact. I'm finding the existing contact and I'm removing the contact. Now, all the four methods I have given, you just need to change the URLs according to your backend API. When you are following this document, you change the URL. You change the base URL which you have deployed in your Heroku. You configure the URLs according to your backend API. These are my backend API URLs. You need to configure your backend API URLs in the service class. Are you guys comfortable? Are you guys comfortable with the service layer? Yes, we are comfortable with our service layer. Then next one, create the components in our application. Create the components in our application. How many components we need? 3 components. Create contact, 1 component. Contact list, 1 component. Contact edit, 1 component. So total 3 components we have to create in our application. Total 3 components we have to create in our application. ng generate component. How to create the component? ng generate component name. So I want to total 3 components to be created in our application. ng generate component name, ng generate component name, and ng generate component contact list. First component create contact, second component contact list, third component contact edit. Third component contact edit. So total 3 components I have created, and by default 1 component is available, that is called app component. App component is the parent component, and the remaining 3 components are going to act as child components for the app component. Now guys, tell me total how many components are available in our application? Guys, tell me total how many components are available in our application? Total 4 components are available in our application. So total 4 components are available in our application. You got my point? One is app component, that is a parent component. Another one is contact edit, contact list, create contact. So total 4 components are created. Now as of now, these components are empty. We need to import these components. We need to import all these things in the app module. We need to import all the details in the app module. Go to app-module.ts. Go to app-module.ts. Now here components are imported. Routing module is available. Now we need to import forms module, HTTP client module. We need to import forms module and HTTP client module in the app module. HTTP client and forms module I have imported. HTTP client and forms I have imported. Import HTTP client module and forms module in app.module.ts file. HTTP client module and forms module we have imported. Are you clear with my point? In the declarations for component available, in the imports, browser module, app routing module, HTTP client and forms module. Additionally I have imported HTTP client module and forms module in this. Are you clear with my point now? Are you clear with my point? What are the changes I have done in the 5th step? In the 5th step, I have created a imported client module and forms module in the app-module.ts file. That is also done. Now we need to configure routings in our application. We need to configure routings in our application. For which URLs you want to do the routing, the routings we need to configure in our app.routing.module.ts file. Now you just add these routings, URL patterns. How you want to do the routing? Already one empty route array is created. Now I'm just going to add our routes. I'm just going to add our routes. Now, whenever you do the route, import these components here, contact list component, create contact component, and the contact edit component. I mean to say, whenever the URL is contacts, then execute contact list component. When the URL is create-contact, then execute create contact component. When the URL is edit, then execute contact edit component. For which URL, which component should be executed, that we are configuring as a routing. For which URL, which component should be executed, for that we are configuring routing. See here. And if you see, if the URL is empty, then I am redirecting to which component? Contacts component. That means if you say localhost :4200, the URL pattern is nothing. If the URL pattern is nothing, I am redirecting that to contacts. Contacts URL redirected to which component? Contact list component. That means by default contacts list component will be executed for our Angular application. Then after, create contact URL will be available and contacts URL will be available. Edit URL also will be available. The default request should go to contacts URL pattern. Contacts URL pattern is mapped to contact list component. So these are routings I am configuring in my application. Page navigations. Page navigations I am configuring as routings. Comfortable? Guys, all of you comfortable with these routings? All of you comfortable with these routings? Yeah. Once routings are completed, then we need to add the logics in our templates and components. We need to add the logics in the templates and components. Add the below code in contact list.component. Now go to contact list component. What is the purpose of contact list component? Can anyone tell me? What is the purpose of contact list component? Which is used to display the contacts. Which is used to display the contacts. Here, inject contact service. Inject contact service and inject router. Inject contact service. This dot contact service dot get all contacts. This dot contact service dot get all contacts. Now what's happening here? I'm getting all the contacts on the init. Whenever this component is loaded, by default it should get the service class method. What is the service class? How I am calling the service class method from the component? Inside this component, I'm having a constructor. In that constructor, I am injecting contact service. I'm injecting contact service and I'm writing a method called get contacts. I'm writing a method called get contacts. Now that method is calling service class method. Get all contacts. This dot contact service get all contacts are subscribe. The data will be stored into contacts variable. So this method is going to call service class method. Service class method is returning some data that the data is storing in the form of this array. That the data is storing in the form of array. That is for that. Next, similarly, remove the contact and edit the contact. So whenever the contacts are displayed, we can edit the contact and we can remove the contact. We can remove the contact or we can edit the contact. So to edit the contact, I'm writing one method. To remove the contact, I'm writing one method. To display the contacts, I'm writing one method. So total 3 methods are available here. Total 3 methods are available. One is get all contacts from service. Another one is remove contact from the service. Another one is edit the contact from the service. Okay. So this is the logic that we are writing in the contact list component. Now, in the contact list component, we should write some presentation logic. Contact component.html. So this is the presentation logic. Display a table and display the data. Now here, component is sending the data in the contacts array. That array we are iterating by using ng for directive. We are displaying the data, and here we are giving the buttons edit and delete. We are giving the buttons edit and delete. Button danger and button info. These are the Bootstrap classes we are using to display the buttons. So this is contact list view, just to display the data in the table format. So in that table we have edit and delete. When you click on edit, it will call edit contact function with the contact ID as an input. When you click on a delete button, it will call the delete contact function with this button. Where these functions are available? These functions are available in the TS file. Edit contact function, delete contact function. Edit contact function will just call the router.navigate of edit. It is just going to navigate to the router of edit with ID. Edit is binded to what? Edit URL is binded to contact edit component. It is going to call the contact edit component. Similarly, when you click on delete button, delete contact function will execute. Delete contact function is doing what? It is simply calling contact service.remove contact, and whatever the data it is getting, then it is going to log to the console, successful console data. You can remove the log statements. If an error comes, then it is going to display the error. See, you can keep it for understanding purpose. Logs, console log we are writing. If data is successful, if the contact is removed successfully, then it is displaying get all contacts. It is redirecting to it is loading the latest data. When get all contacts method will be called ng on init. It is something like a init method. Whenever the component is loaded, init method will be called. In the init method, I am calling get all contacts. Get all contacts is calling service layer method. Whatever the data is coming, storing the data to the variable. Variable is an array. That variable we are iterating in the template file. So this is create component logic. Next one. That is contact list component. Next one, create component. Go to create component. In the create component, we should write the logic to save the contact and redirect it to the contacts. Go to create component.ts. In the create component.ts file, we are injecting service. Because component should talk to service layer for executing business logic. Let's import all these packages. Let's import the contact service on router here. I have imported contact service on router. Then save contact method is available. It is going to take the contact data from the form and calling to the service layer and redirecting it to the contacts. Redirect contacts will navigate to /contacts. Once the contact is saved, then immediately it should be redirected to contacts component, which will display all the latest data. This is create contact. Now see, ng init and taking the contact object to bind the form data, injecting the contact service using constructor, on submit method, which is used to whenever the form is submitted, save contact function should be called. Why the save contact? What the save contact will do? Save contact is going to call service layer method. Whatever the data it is getting, it is going to log the data to the console, then redirecting to the contact list. What is the redirecting to contact list will do? Redirecting to the contact list will call simply this method. It is simply calling this method. Alright guys. Saving the contact. Now go to create contact HTML. We need to display the form here. Here I have given the presentation logic to display the form by using ng modal form binding. Template driven form we are using ng modal. Class name, ID, and ng modal contact name, contact email, contact number, and I have given a button. Button class is a primary. It will display in the blue color. Right. Now, once I have given this submit button, when you click on this button, ng submit, on submit function will be called. What is there in the on submit function? On submit function will take the object, and will call service layer contact method, and it is going to redirect to the other component. So that is the logic of create component. Similarly, edit component. When the contact is edited, then what should we do? Display the component in the editable mode, and if a user click on update, then update the same contact. Contact edit component. Here we are writing some logic to bind the data. Whatever the contact that the user is edited, that contact should be displayed in the editable mode. That contact should be displayed in the editable mode. Alright. Now that logic we are writing. Edit contact, that is get contact by ID, then update the contact based on the ID. Edit the contact by ID and update the contact based on the ID. Get contact and update the contact that we are writing here. Now edit contact also having a logic. Edit contact is also having a presentation logic to display that in the editable mode. To display that in the editable mode. Whenever you click on the button submit, it will call update contact method. Update contact method having the logic to capture the contact ID, and it is going to call same create contact. As the ID already available, it is going to update the record. After updating the record, it is redirecting to contacts. It is redirecting to contacts. Clear? Fine. So with this, our application logics are ready. With this, our application logics are ready. Let's run our application and see how it is going to execute. What is the command to run the application? ng serve command. What is the command we are going to use here? ng serve command we are going to use here. ng serve command. Execute, run the application using below command. What is the step number? 13th step. 13th step. Execute Angular application. Execute Angular application using ng serve command. Execute Angular application using ng serve command. Yeah, application started. Localhost colon 4200. Localhost colon 4200. Oh, which component is executing by default now? Localhost colon 4200, which component is executed by default? Contacts component is executed. What is there in the, home component is executing, parent component is executing. Parent component.html. What is there in the parent component HTML? Guys, tell here, what is there in the parent component now? What is there in the parent component? Default code is available or not? In the app component.html, default logic is available. Then what we need to do in that app component? Do we need to keep the default logic, or we need to configure our router logics? In the app component, what should we do in the app component? In the app component.html, we need to configure our router. I forgot to add that step there. We need to configure routers in the app component. Now, let me make the changes. Remove the existing code in the app component and let's configure our routers in the app component. Configure routers in our app component. Configure router logic in our app component. This is going to be 14th step. This is going to be 14th step. I need to configure 13th step. Configure router logic. Configure router outlet. Configure router outlet in app.component.html. Configure router outlet in the app.component.html. Now here I have configured router logic. Menu should be displayed and my router should be displayed. This is one hyperlink to display the contacts. This is one hyperlink to create the contacts. Whenever it is executed, the component logic should be loaded in this div. Main content should be loaded in the div. Single page application. Now, can you see when I configure that router logic in the app component, how my application is displaying? Add contact list. Add contact list. Okay. Go to add contact, add one contact details. Now click on submit. Once I have created the contact, is it displaying in the contact list? Is displaying in the contact list? Yes. Ashok IT is the name. Click on edit. Now instead of Ashok IT, I'm creating it as Ashok Chakravarti. Now click on update. Is the contact name updated to Ashok Chakravarti? Yes. Now click on add contact. Now let me add it Raju, raju.p@gmail.com and enter some phone number for Raju. Click on submit. The Raju contact is added. Go to add contact. Let's add one more contact called Mahesh. Mahesh@gmail.com. Mahesh@gmail.com. Enter some number for the Mahesh. Click on submit. Mahesh number is also added. Click on edit. Instead of Mahesh, let me give it as Mahesh Babu. Mahesh@ashokit.com. Mahesh and number 56565656. All the three variables I have modified. Update. Mahesh Babu, Mahesh@ashokit 5656. Click on delete. That Mahesh record got deleted. Click on add contact. Contact can be added. Click on create contact. Guys, now see, my page is refreshing or just content is loading. When you access this, my page is refreshing or only content is loading. Page is refreshing or only content is loading. Only content is loading. My page is not getting refreshed. My page is not getting refreshed. Only content is loading. Can I say this is a single page application now? Can I say this is a single page application now? Yes or no? So are we able to develop front-end application by using Angular? Now tell me, if you follow this document, can you do that? If you follow this document, can you develop your front-end application? Did I make any new changes? No. Whatever is there in the document, just I have executed. Execute Angular application using ng serve command. Open the browser and access application using below URL. Open the browser and access the application using below URL. URL we are giving as http://localhost:4200/. That's it. Will load app component by default. Inside the app component template, we have this presentation logic to display the menu, display the footer, and load the contact list component by default. Now if you click on add contact, create component is loading. When you click on contact list, existing contacts are loading. When you click on edit contact component is loading. So like this we can manage this application. Guys, beautiful. We are able to do backend with Spring Boot, front-end with Angular, full stack development. This is what industry is expecting. Backend API is running in the cloud. Backend API running in the cloud, Heroku cloud. Front-end is running in the local. From the front-end application, we are able to access our backend application. Now I will upload this document to our portal now. I want you to follow this document and develop your front-end today. Today is the last date for you to develop that front-end application. Just 15 steps are there. Code also I have given. You just follow this. Building front-end for contact application, contact app. Now what is this file? Contact app UI development. Oh, forgot to submit the notes. Guys, done. Notes is uploaded. Can you check it? Are you able to download the notes? Check it, guys. Are you able to download the notes? I have uploaded to the wrong course. Can you check it? Can you check it? Is it added to our course? Is it added to our course now? Yes. Yes. So just follow the document. The only thing that you might need to change, guys, the things that you need to change here, class, how you created your backend binding class. Your backend binding class variables are matching with your front-end binding class or not, you need to check it. I have given you a note. Make sure your backend API binding class and front-end binding class variables are same. If those variables are different, then you will get a problem. Okay, na? And the second one, your URL patterns. Your URL patterns. Your base API URL and what are the URL patterns that you have used in the project, you need to make sure of those URL patterns. And the remaining things, whenever you are writing the presentation logic, in the presentation, whatever the variable names you are using in the binding, same variable names I am using in the presentation also. So it's better if you keep your binding variables, if your backend API binding class variables like this, then exact code will work. If your backend API having a binding class now, if your binding class is having the same variables, then exact code will work. Just you need to take care of the URLs. Just you need to take care of the URLs. Yes, guys, in the real time, you need to do the backend development and you need to do the front end development also. In the real time, you need to develop the backend as well as front end development also. Okay, please complete this today. Now, tomorrow we will discuss about second mini project requirement. Tomorrow I will give the second mini project requirement. Testing, I have executed this. I have tested. If you see all the functionalities are working, that means that's good. All the functionalities are working, that's good. Okay? Can you guys complete this before coming to tomorrow's session? So tomorrow I will start with second mini project. Thank you guys. Please complete it. Don't keep it pending because a lot of time you guys are wasting. So please complete this before coming to tomorrow's session. Bye-bye. I will see you in the tomorrow session. Tomorrow we'll start second mini project. If you have any questions, you can share in the Telegram. You have a group now. You can post your doubts in that group.